Hello, hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Home Care Queen TV. Yes, it has been a while. It has been a while since I am on in this capacity. I've been on the vlogging side for a couple of days. I've been on the vlogging side of the platform for a couple of days, but I'm here tonight. I'm here tonight, and I hope you'll join me. I'm here tonight, and I hope you'll join me as we discuss a very sensitive topic for some, a very sensitive topic, and a topic that takes a lot of thought and care and empathy and a lot of heart. So, the topic that I'm going to look at tonight is how do we take care or how do we address a parent who has neglected us throughout our lives, and now that they're elderly, sick, and in need, they're reaching out for help. So we're going to look at that topic tonight. But before we go into this, I hope you all are doing well. And I want to take the opportunity to thank you for supporting me thus far. I really, 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 really appreciate it. And I'm asking if you can, if you could share this channel to someone who you have not shared it with, so as to continue your support and get me to the goal that I'm striving after. Okay, so share it out. If there's something about the channel that you love, share it with someone who you have never done so with. And also, let me explain again that subscribing is free. You don't have to pay to subscribe. I know that quite a few persons I've spoken to don't have a YouTube page, but you could just go in, whether it's your iPhone or your Android, and download YouTube and then put in Home Care Queen TV. I guess you have to register and come up with a password. And what I'm hearing from a lot of folk is that, oh, I don't have time to register. I want to. Please take a little bit of time. I know you're busy. I know you're busy, but take a little time. Take a little time to download it and register so that you can support me, and subscribe so you can support me. It's no charge to you to do that. It allows you to be on when I'm on, and even when I'm not on, to watch the channel afterwards. Okay? To watch the channels afterwards. So today, it's very, very sunny here, and we're a very hot state, but it's comfortable. And I hope that wherever you are, I heard that in some places, not heard, I looked on the weather. In some places, some states, some countries, it's raining. And, just know that we in the Sunshine State are sending some sun to you. We're sending some sun to you. So, okay, so that's that. So how do we address the parent that was never there for you, whether it's the issue happened after childhood and then there was a disagreement during adulthood, whatever stage it happens? How would you deal with that? How do you deal with not having a relationship with a parent for most of your life, and in some cases, all your life. And then you get a phone call. I need your help. That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. Because as a parent, I have disagreement with my kids. Some are easier mend than others. And when I came across this issue, I really start to think of myself. I think I've made enough preparation that I'll be able to care for myself financially when I get older. But I also know that I don't want to go in a nursing home. I want to remain in my house with care as long as I can. And the hope is that even though I have disagreements with the children, that one of them would step up and make sure that I'm okay. Because I was thinking about it, and I really have been giving it a lot of thought when I came across this issue. If we have one child and there is such brokenness in the relationship, it makes it even harder. It makes it even harder. Multiple children, you're hoping that one would step up, even though the relationship might be challenging. But what if they don't? What if they don't? One of the statements I've heard while discussing this issue with someone, with quite a few folk I've discussed it with since this issue came across my desk, is one person says, where's the empathy? Other folks says, I'm not doing it. And I tell you, the things that makes children get upset with parents now varies. It can be simple. It can be difficult. But if that person, if that child sees it as a non-redeemable situation, what happens? What happens? Now, there's a story I heard, and this is what really have me thinking and decide to come and talk about this issue. There was a parent that was very, very stable financially and allegedly neglected the child or children, and now is in desperate need, and there's no one reaching out the way the parent expected. As you come on, I'm going to ask you to like and share for me. Thank you so much. So, as a parent, if this issue doesn't move you, whether your life is perfect with your kids and you know for a fact that they're going to be there for you without a shadow of a doubt, there is those individuals out there that don't know if the children will be there. And in my experience of working for years with the elder population, both in the hospital setting, nursing home, group homes, where, right around the spectrum, have had the opportunity to have some exposure in work. And I've seen family members in the hospital that no one visits, especially at the nursing home level. And then it's documented that they have children. And one of the things that I know can happen, and I've heard it and I've seen it, where we bring our own feelings into it. Oh my God, how could this child do that to the parent? What has she done to the child or children that no one shows up to visit? As a social worker, you make that telephone call and you can feel that the person is broken, has no interest in visiting or communicating. And it's a job and you get through it and you find a way to support the person. But it really, really hits home for me. I am 63 years old. My dad is 92. Mom is in her late 80s. I think mom is going to be 86 next month. I think 86. And there's 6 of us. And they can be sure, because we've shown that behavior throughout our life, that more than half of us will show up for whatever situation. Everybody has life's challenges. 1 or 2 might not show up for something. But in illness, we all show up. But am I going to be that blessed that my children will show up? Are you going to be that blessed that your children will show up? Those of us who are at this age and we're single, we don't have a partner. And things are good now because I can move and I can drive and I can take care of myself. But what happens? It really is an eye-opener. What happens if I take sick? Will I have to depend on strangers? Will you have to depend on strangers? I tell you, I think I took it for granted until I heard about this scenario. I really think I took it for granted that I don't have to worry. One of my children will show up. But it hit me really, really deep, talking to folk about it, listening to other people's input, because the natural instinct of human being is retaliation. The natural instinct is, you weren't there for me, I will never be there for you. And in some cases, the parent is there, but as I said, the relationship got broken for whatever reason. Because there's one thing I've learned. What upsets our adult children could be the simplest thing that we wouldn't think it would be an issue. So then, does that carry out throughout the spectrum of our life, the disagreement? Somebody says, showing empathy, just being there because it's your parents. And another individual said, because I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And hurt makes you hard. Hurt makes us hard. Hurt makes us cold. Hurt makes us selfish. But is there a difference with a parent versus a sibling versus a friend? Is there a different layer that we have to pull off because this is the person who has given birth to me? And yes, there are those of us out there that they have never been there. They've never been there. And one of the things that I told myself in doing this channel and talking about or discussing certain issues is that I'm going to try to be transparent without offending my family members. And there were times in my life when, if it's not mom, it's dad, where we weren't getting along. We weren't getting along because, as West Indian parents, there are certain expectations. And when those expectations are not met, they can become very, 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 very verbal about it. And when you've gone through so much obstacles in your life, there's always going to be that area that creates a rift. But one of the things I told myself as I got older and as life got harder for me is that it doesn't matter what happens. It's not about my feelings. It's about them. But that's my take on the issue. They're my parent. Without them, I wouldn't be here. So even if today, 3:00, I'm really mad at either or. If 3:15, one of my siblings should call and says, mom or dad is ill, I know me. I'm going to show up and I'm going to be authentically helping. I'm going to try to put my feelings aside. But that's me. And I've asked myself, and I'm going to say it again, forgive me. I've asked myself, when I was with my family, with dad, and when I watch my siblings, I think I mentioned it to one of my I think it was my nephew, if I'm not mistaken. I said, I hope my children would be there for me like how we're here for dad. And then when I came across this, I said, wow. Because it didn't matter how we felt or about each other. Being there and being present for dad was all we cared about. Making sure he's okay. But what if there's that person out there that the pain is so bad that they can't do that? What if there's that person? Thank you, Nurse Kyra. Love you. Thank you. Share your, as a nurse, your experience a little bit. Share it in the chat with me. Guys, give me thumbs up. I appreciate you that are coming in. Give me some thumbs up. It is not, and I'm not going to pretend that this is easy for anyone. Because growing up without a parent, I don't know what that's like. During my childhood, my sisters and I, we were talking about it, and my brother, we were talking about it when we were with dad, that as far as we can remember, we had the best childhood. One of my sisters says the issue came when we became adult, and we all snickered about it because it's true. We had a blessed, wonderful childhood, thanks to our parents. We were never alone without either or. Yes, we had support. We had nannies, we had housekeepers, but mom was there. Mom was there. Dad made sure that both of them was not missing. So I'm not going to use that lens and judge how a person should react being raised without their parents. And now that they're older and they're sick and they made bad financial decisions. This was the issue with that particular situation. The parent made bad financial decisions that created havoc in their life. And now that they're sick and can't help themselves and they're allegedly squandered all their money, they're turning now to the children for help. Someone suggested to me, well, I would put them in a nursing home. I would put them in a nursing home, he or she in a nursing home. I would make sure if there's money to be paid, if I can afford it. And that's the issue right now, because life is hard. Children are graduating from school, children are going into college. You never plan for the parent because they were never there. They were never there, so there was no reason to plan for them. And here is now things have been put in place for the children to go to college. How do you balance that? Putting the individual in a nursing home, I don't see that as cruel. I really don't, because the goal is to get good care for them, get them meals, have them taken care of medically. So when that individual that I spoke to, just to, get views, how people see this issue, when they say, one person said I would put them in a nursing home and I'd make sure they're fine, but I'm not going to change my life for this person. I'm not going to change my life for this person. So the group of individuals that I spoke to, everybody has a scenario. There was one person that says, I'm not helping. I'm not helping. At this point in my life, and that was a statement, I don't need a parent. But they're in need. They're in need. They're in need. So, from an educational standpoint, I would agree with putting the individual in a safe place that can take care of them, that doesn't put too much financial stress on you as the person who was, for lack of a better word, rejected right through your life. But what if you weren't rejected through your life? What if they're in your life, but the relationship is strained? Does that make a difference? Can you say, you know what, they're my parents, I'm going to do what I have to do? It's not only thought-provoking, but it's heart-pulling. Because in decisions like these, we have to look at ourselves as a child who has children. I don't want certain things to come on me because of my behavior. I don't want my children to watch me where they think I could lend a hand and I don't lend it because I'm hurt. And then something happens to the relationship between my children and myself, and I now are going to be treated the way I treat my parents. And this is what I would say to anyone that is going through this. Think about your life. Try, and I say this gentle, try to take the attention off the pain if you can, and say, what if I end up with a relationship like this with my children? What would I want them to do for me? And use that to make the right decision for that parent. Because life have a way of repeating itself with us through our children. Life have a way of repeating itself with us through our children. So let us use that empathy to say, I would want my children to forgive me and be there for me, even though they think I've hurt them bad. Because if it has not been discussed and the child is just holding on to it, and you don't get an opportunity to share why you took the stance you took, and they just kept it in them, let's really take some time to think about this. And I'm speaking to myself too, because my relationship with my children used to be perfect. It's not perfect anymore. And how they respond to me later on in my life depends on what I do and the bridge I build to make things better. And it takes time, and nobody can tell another person when or how to do the work of rebuilding a relationship that is broken with your children. And especially if the relationship is broken and you try to reach out to that child who is an adult now and they don't reciprocate, what do you do? What do you do? If you only have one child and the relationship is broken, and you reach out and the person does not reciprocate, and then later in life you need them, it is a hard pill. It is a hard pill. It is a hard pill. Because working in the elder care field, it just keeps you, at least for me, it just keeps me thinking about the experiences I had with nobody showing up for this person. And I don't want that for myself. And if we look at it through that lens, I think we'll be able to break down the barriers before it's too late. But we cannot change anyone who is not willing to change. We cannot change anyone. In caring for others, it really opens, it should really open our eyes to look at down the road. Everything is fine now, but to look down the road to see what life would be like as I get older. How do I mend fences? I'm speaking to me too. How do I mend fences? Keep trying. The suggestion again would be, the second suggestion would be, don't have too much expectations when we don't do the work. If my child is mad at me because of something I did or a decision I made that I know it was the best decision that I made, and I'm comfortable with the decision that I made, and they use that not to support me if I ever needed that support or when I need that support, I'm not going to hold it against them because I am comfortable with the decision I made that created the void. So then When we're planning our lives, let's remember that every year we get older. Every year we get older, and something will happen. Securing ourselves in a home or an apartment that you can afford, making sure you have good medical that covers home care, making sure that the decision that we make as parents can carry us through our life. And if we need some cushioning, that there'll be that child that will come forth and say, this is my mom, this is my dad. But planning our lives for our future is not just about 3 years from now. It's about 4 or 5 years from now. Will I be able to maintain this apartment I am in? Will I be able to afford this mortgage I have? Will I be able to afford the car I have? And paying down the bills that I can now. And you know, the other issue that was brought up is marriage. Getting married at an age, getting married is a good thing. A companionship, everybody craves companionship. There are those that says there's no good men out there. I still have hope. But when we get to a certain age, because this situation, this person got married at a very, very mature age. When we get to a certain age and we're looking for companionship, we're talking about securing our future so we're not a burden on our children if we have not done right by them. I'm not talking about your children being mad because you did X and Y, because when a child can look back and said, my parents did the best they could for me, that is what's going to propel the anger. And there's some people that there's some people that are heartless. We know that in every situation. But we're talking about that person that can come up for air and think that, listen, I didn't get where I am without my parents. I didn't get here without them. Yes, they hurt me. But before the hurt, there was a life. Before you were hurt, there was a life. And the person that provided that life is the same person that is the person needing you. But when we get around, and 60 is young. I'm 63 and I'm a young woman. Yes, I'm young. My father is 90 plus. I have a good 30 years ahead of me. So of course I would like a companion. But we have to plan for these things. We have to plan for these things. When we get to a certain age and we're looking into companionship, and this is what sometimes causes financial issues as we get older, whether you and your children are in a good relationship or not. If you're in a good relationship, that's good. And if you're in a bad relationship, needs improvement. But your decision, how you decide to move your life forward after 60, has to be taken. A lot of thought has to be given to it. Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome goes out the door. That's not the priority. I am a legend that the priority should be, does he have his own medical? Can he take care of himself? Does he have a pension coming to him? And if he lived alone, did he live with children? He lives alone, he's able to pay his bills, he's able to take care of himself. So when you come together, he can still carry his weight. And I'm going to suggest this. A prenup is not for millionaires only. A prenup is not a divorce. sentence. No, it's not. It's a protection barrier. And I believe, and this is just my opinion, that at this age, 63, a companion comes into my life and we decide to get married, there should be a prenup. The prenup is saying, I have 10 cents to take care of myself. And I'm securing my 10 cents to take care of myself. And while I'm starting this new journey with you, I will give 5 cents over here to cover where we are in the future or day to day. I'll give 5 cents to cover the day-to-day needs. But what I have over here, before I met you, and I might get a lot of challenge on this, but I'm saying to young 60s, 70s, 80s that are looking into going into a relationship, that we should think about our individual future before we are coupled. Because a bad decision at 30, you can start over. A bad decision at 60, 65, 70 in marriage. Can you imagine the person go on before you and you didn't make plans? How am I going to cope after they go? And then everything goes with them. Or in this particular case, I know of a case, I mean, in the 80s, they're getting a divorce. It pained my heart when I heard about it. Can you imagine starting out life at that age? So if we do not plan properly, that's when we get into a situation where we are homeless, desperate, and it can be seen like we're becoming a burden to our children. I hope this has been a food for thought. I hope this has ignite or will ignite a conversation, because it's so desperately needed, because our children has their own families to take care of, and they shouldn't be saddled with taking care of us because of bad decisions. And this particular episode, I'm talking about someone that made a bad decision in their late life, in their 70s, and the person ended up walking out on them, and they're left destitute because of bad decisions, wrong choices. That's what this is about. This is not an umbrella for elderly marriage. This is saying we have to think carefully. We're not 20, 30, 40, even 50. And if we're going into a coupled relationship, we have to have barriers and boundaries that we set to protect ourselves. I hope this has been helpful. This has been Home Care Queen TV, and I am your host, Muriel Melville. And yes, home care first takes care of you. Have a good night.